Recognized, Uncle Walker, D01. Recognized, Emily of Arden, D12. Recognized, Joe Moniac, D05.
Hello, team. Welcome back, and thanks for joining us for episode 18 of Whelmed Season 4. My name is Rich, and with me is my co-host Emily and producer Neil.
Hey, everyone. In these review episodes, we'll be diving into the plots, characters, Easter eggs, comic book history, and everything else of Young Justice, and use all of that as a springboard to talk about the creative writing process along the way.
Our review segments will avoid any major spoilers for later episodes, but we'll be discussing them in detail in our final segment, Crashing the Mode.
I am the Superboy. If you say so. My name's Drew, by the way. Drew Zod. General Drew Zod.
And with all that out of the way, let's hand it to Emily for...
Hello, Megan!
The title of this week's episode is Beyond the Grip of the Gods. The release date was April 14th, 2022. The in-episode dates were August 24th and 26th. The writer was Taneka Stotts, the director was Christina Soda, and the voice director was, as always, Jamie Thomason.
Special guest voice credits this time go to D. Bradley Baker as Graven, Jimmy Olsen, and Mark Desmond.
G.K. Bose as Jovita and Elaine Jackson.
Ben Diskin as Orion, Ma'alafaak, and Gragan.
Nika Futterman as Forager, Larva, and All-Widow.
Curtis Mansfield as Amistad.
Phil Morris as Drew Zod, Noble Davis, and Lord Zod.
Geoff Pearson as Flash and Cretan.
And Mark Rolston as Lex Luthor, Highfather, and Antinous.
Just in time for your next mission.
This week's episode opens in Dakota City, with Rocket struggling to drop her son Amistad off at his dad's apartment so that she can go on an off-world Justice League mission. Amistad has autism, and Raquel's clearly struggling with how that affects both his life and hers as his mom, which is going to cause some of the tension this arc. After the credits, we see Rocket, Jay Garrick, and Forager landing on New Genesis, where they are set to represent Earth at an intergalactic summit between the New Gods, the Green Lanterns, and the Justice League. There, they meet Highfather and High Mother, as well as their son, Orion. Elsewhere in Supertown, we see a purple Forager sneak into a warehouse and begin investigating the technology there before being caught by one of the other New Gods. Rocket and Orion attempt to intervene, but the thief is still able to escape.
Meanwhile, over on Apocalypse, some guy named Gragan is stirring up revolutionary sentiments in a dive bar. He's kicked out by the barkeep, but when one woman agrees with him, he leads her to a secluded area where she is abducted by parademons. It's revealed that Gragan is actually Macomb in disguise, spreading revolutionary messages to root out traitors for Darkseid. Graven, one of Darkseid's other sons, then appears and tells Macomb that Darkseid has summoned him for an audience. And somewhere out in space, Connor's just straight up disassociating with everything that's happening to him. And back in Supertown, security footage shows that the thief stole an ancient Ruction cell, and Forager is able to identify the thief as being from the Mountain Hive, so the group sets out to find her.
Over at the Mountain Hive, everyone is extremely happy with what the thief has stolen for them, but their celebration is interrupted by word that our heroes are fast approaching. We see Purple Mountain Forager, that's a mouthful, entrust the Ruction cell to the safekeeping of two young larvae. Totally going to be fine before she and the other adult foragers go out to confront our heroes. While the meeting is going on, we see an intangible Martian add something to the Ruction cell while the larvae are distracted by the commotion outside. Forager speaks with Mountain Forager. I agree, Jake Eric. I agree. And is able to convince her that his friends are telling the truth about the dangers of the Ruction cell, and she agrees to lead their group to the cell to protect the hive. But deep within the hive, the larvae are running away with a clearly unstable Ruction cell.
And somewhere deep in Connor's mind, he's hallucinating an alternate future in which he kills and replaces Superman, outwardly appearing as the new hero of Metropolis, but privately being forced to do whatever Lex Luthor deems necessary, including killing Batman and blowing up the Watchtower. Lex commends Connor for all of the supposedly good work he's been doing, but tells him that the only way he can reach his full potential is by letting her go. Her being both the Phantom Girl he's been literally carrying in his arms this whole time, as well as the memory of McGann that's been keeping him going. And back on Apocalypse, Darkseid tasks Macomb with one final mission to earn his reward, following all the orders of Lord Zod, the driver of that strange yellow sphere we kept seeing throughout the first arc of this season. So Macomb, Mantis, and something called the Kaiser Thrall board the time sphere and head off to do whatever it is they're going to do.
Some nonsense. And back at the mountain hive, the Ruction cell has become dangerously unstable. Rocket tries to contain it, but before she can, one of its erratic blasts hits Orion, knocking his helmet off and sending him into a violent rage. Rocket places a force bubble around the cell and is forced to do the same thing to Orion when he attempts to attack her. Lightright tells her that Orion is desperately claustrophobic and that she has to release him before she does further psychological damage to him. Before Rocket can decide what to do, the Ruction cell overloads, disrupting her force fields and releasing Orion, who is finally able to calm down with the help of Lightray and Motherbox.
Back in Supertown, the Ruction cell is given to Metron for safekeeping, totally fine, in his interdimensional vault. Rocket overhears Orion discussing his violent outburst to Allmother, along with mentioning this loss of control being connected to his biological father. And Rocket tells Jay that she's uncomfortable with the prospect of leading negotiations with Orion, who she calls
It's
a
just
monster.
a guy.
Hey, it's me, Ryan. I've been around for 1,000 years. And somewhere out in space, Connor meets an unfamiliar man who explains that the hallucinations he's been seeing are a result of zone sickness and that he can help Connor survive. He explains that they are currently both trapped in the Phantom Zone and reveals that he is, in fact, General Drew Zod. And during the credits, Superman and Black Lightning discuss which heroes, allies, armies, and resources could be added to the League's reserve roster in case of another global emergency. And the answer is literally everyone they've ever met for any reason ever, kinda. And people they haven't met. They're in there too.
People they have met, people they know about, people they've heard of, tangential acquaintances. If you have a superpower or a resource or some armor, the Justice League would like to know where you are just in case the world blows up again.
Not on our planet? That's cool too. Come on down.
We'll add it to the list. Add them
Sunday,
to the phone
Sunday.
tree. Add them to the phone tree.
Thanagar's ships can fly across the galaxy in like 4 days, so it's like your neighbor. That's all there is to it. Takes longer to drive from here to across the United States.
Time for Aster.
Starting the Aster.
Woo.
Superboy, are you alright?
I'm fine. Feeling the Aster.
Hey, Neil, let's start this Aster with what's the log line this week?
Oh, I feel like that deserves, now that people have heard us do the radio voice, I feel like if anything deserves it out of all of our notes.
Yeah, the
It
log
has
line.
to.
You gotta do the log.
Rocket gets a reality check and reality is ready to collect. That's harder to say fast in that voice than I thought it was.
That's it.
You did this to yourself.
Rocket gets a reality check, and reality is ready to collect.
Da-da-da-da-da-da. Again, these are really just to... It came to light how early TV Guide was willing to release these. So the log lines became different. I know we've mentioned it, but like the reason was they were dropping weeks and weeks ahead. Greg changed them to be accurate.
But only technically.
Yes, technically.
Which is, it's fine. TV shows have been doing stuff like this for ages. But also it makes remembering which episodes are which so difficult on Max. Trying to find which one you're looking for on HBO Max when you're like, I kind of remember what happened in the episode, but none of the log lines are what happened in the episode. It's an adventure, but we fully understand why it happened on a show that so desperately wants to keep things under wraps and spoiler free.
It's true. Are you ready for 16s?
Go for it.
Do it.
Both Raquel and Noble live in a 16, so 416, 116, typically getting off on the 16th stop. They have to go to the 17th. So those are your big ones. There'll be more. There's only really one more. When Macomb convinces Jovita, is the woman's name, to be the 16th person that basically he's forcibly defected. Jovita is the canonical leader of the Hunger Dogs, like the rebel group that shows up on Apocalypse in comics history. She is the one that normally leads that group. There you go. Reference number 1.
Nice.
Who's next? Is it me? Is it still me?
Yeah, keep going, man. You got some stuff.
Okay, so speaking of characters that just like show up once ever, Celestia, the one who shows up. So there's Antinous, who's showing up with a shipment. Like that's how Mountain Forager gets inside, by sneaking through. Celestia is literally just like a person that shows up one time in comics ever.
Okay.
Sounds about right.
And I'm just like, sure, cool, awesome.
Where, and when?
Alarms, New Genesis is attacked. Like that's her main line in Jack Kirby's Fourth World, number 6 of August 1997.
Oh, okay. When you started off with Jack Kirby, I was like, oh, wait, was this really early? And you're like, no. Well, I guess to some people, 97 is now ancient history, but not so much to me.
Yeah, and then Antinous is the high-ranking new god from like the early 2000s. And again, just gotta conserve.
Law of conservation of characters.
What else? I mean, but the Kirby, I literally, my note is the Kirby is strong in this one. The image of Supertown, just the way it's even so different because like you have more of that. You can tell when something's like more of that static background when they're shot of Supertown, but like just the colors, the imagery, just all of it from start to finish is just like, yeah, if you didn't know about the New Gods, but knew anything about Jack Kirby, you're like, well, clearly he made this. Like,
yeah.
There's no question.
Yeah. Yep. The Jimmy Olsen bit made me laugh too.
So, and I don't know if other notes refer to it, but the Jimmy Olsen one, it's interesting because everything about Connor's approach feels so reset back to season 1 that it's really interesting. Like the way that, yeah, I know. So the way that Lex is dressed, the way that he's dressed in the solar suit, the way he talks, but it also makes me think of like the things that he sees himself doing makes me think about the things that were probably like implanted.
Yeah.
Like, cause he banes Batman. Okay, go.
So in the tie-in comics.
Yeah.
In the tie-in comics.
Oh, right.
In issue 7, Fears, which is the second part of the Everybody Sits Around the Campfire and Explains Their Backstories issue.
Great issue.
The one where Miss Martian just straight up lies and Robin just kind of stares into the distance and has some war flashbacks. Like, it's a fun issue. In that, the last one in that is Superboy thinking back on the things that were implanted into his mind. And one of them is specifically saving Metropolis from a crazed, violent Superman who is attacking the Daily Planet and tries to kill Lois Lane. So this is kind of just remix of that, of like a post that Superboy saving Lois Lane from an exploding Daily Planet. Yeah. 1, read the tie-in comics. They're fun. 2, it is canon that the genomes at some point were just like, hey, here's a vivid hallucination of you punching Superman to death and saving all of these characters you've never met before.
And if you're Lex Luthor, your number 1 problem is Superman.
Yep.
Your number 2 problem is definitely Batman because you got rid of Superman.
Yep.
And so like I would assume that this is not the first time he's seen himself doing the old Bane. Yeah, for those of you who don't know, that's the classic moment back in the 90s when Bane breaks Bruce Wayne's back, and they get Azrael, I think, stepped in as Batman for a while, and that would send me on a whole tangent. So I think I'm not going to go there. But one of the reasons why I mentioned Jimmy Olsen, I just realized I was like, the Jimmy Olsen thing with Jack Kirby. Why did I say that? I'm like, oh. You should go back and listen to, if you haven't listen to our discussion with Jeff Stormer talking about the Fourth World and Jack Kirby. Because when Jack Kirby came to DC Comics, he asked them, what's your lowest selling comic? And they said, Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen. And so Jack Kirby, who redefined comics for everyone, was like, let's do this. I'm on it. And then started dropping all his Fourth Worlds, sci-fi god stuff in, starting with Jimmy Olsen. So every time I think Jack Kirby now, I think Jimmy Olsen for some reason. Well, I also think of like, is it where you're talking about that? Like, is it all of these remembrances of a time that Superman did save Metropolis, and you're using these things because it like harkens back to like the old 1950s, like faster than a speeding bullet, and it's like jump a tall building in a single bound. It's Superman, and like it just feels, or like like you'd see it on the news or like a promotional thing for Superman.
It's what it is, yeah. Strange visitor from another planet. Yeah, reminds me of the old George Reeves 1950s.
But you are absolutely right that it all very much calls back to all of that season 1 stuff, like the bit in the tie-in comics, he is wearing the same white suit, all of that. The only difference is that in the comics, when it's going on, Superboy is smiling, like he's having a good time saving the world from Superman, and now everything is just awful.
I find it interesting too. Like I keep thinking, like, all right, so he has these memories, and he's making his own choices. He still has the memories, right? But at the time that he's thinking back, like when those things were being programmed into him, he still had Red Sun in his head.
Yep.
And so when McGann like went in and said, okay, I took out all the programming, I made sure there wasn't any other secret programs in there like Red Sun, right? I'm just thinking from a psychological standpoint, how do you differentiate between something like a subliminal message, right? So this post-hypnotic suggestion that they had with Red Sun, and how is that different than, I mean, these images that they were giving him was programming. You know what I mean? It wasn't like he had a secret trick, trapdoor word anymore. She probably cleared all that stuff out. But like he still has all these memories, and probably I would imagine the feelings, like you're saying, like that memory he had of like smiling and being happy about that. It's a visual comic, but I'm assuming he's feeling, there's some feeling associated with the success.
This is also acknowledged in the tie-in comics.
Is it? Tell me all about it.
Emily reaches over into the bookshelf. Yeah, no, the last bit in the tie-in comics of all of this, of him having this whole thing, is a flashback shot of him in the pod, where during this hallucination in the pod in which they're like, hi, here's you killing Superman and saving the day, it breaks the containment pod, and they're like, wow, the stuff that he's experiencing in there must be really real if his brain is strong enough to like disrupt the thing that's supposed to hold him. Put him in a new containment pod. Like, he is feeling all of that, and it is viewed as real to him. Whereas, what the genomes make him see must be pretty real to him, is what one of the scientists said.
Yeah. Oh, Superboy.
You can't full reset him. Like you said, it makes him who he is, because these are things for him he actually went through on a psychological level.
Right.
I think a little bit. I think the in-universe answer for what's the difference between Red Sun and that is the whole, like, Red Sun is trigger phrase, shuts him down, everything. And all of this stuff is more along the lines, the superhero science version of someone just repeatedly being like, no, this is what you should do. This is what you were made to do. This is your purpose in life. Of just telling you that over, like, I get that it's not, but for superhero science reasons, I think that's kind of the thing of just being like, we taught him how to read and write and know the names of things.
Yeah. It's culty indoctrination is what it feels like, as opposed to like direct mind control level of stuff. Anyway, go read the tie-in comics if we haven't said that a billion times. Yeah.
And now it goes back on the shelf.
What else you got, Neil?
So we mentioned it earlier, and I assume it'll get cut, but the All Widow is like the queen of the bugs. So like the one with kind of the larger bulbous head is the queen of all bugs. There's also Queen Widow was the other name for them, but also very, very few references for that one as well. To the point where like I ended up having to get over to Comics Vine instead of like the DC wiki to like find information about All Widow. It's literally, the All Widow is the matriarch of the bugs of New Genesis. You now know all that I know. So, I mean, there are like appearances, and like certainly I could have dug deeper and read comics, but like I don't know that it would have got me very far. Also, I'm a huge fan of don't hate the player, hate the game. Forager's gonna forage. Like that's
Did you forget?
Yeah.
Did you forget how to forage?
Literally the name. Literally my name. Your name too. Forage. Forager.
She straight up goes, I didn't take it, but if I did take it, then it's mine. Like,
it's like, okay, cool. I agree. Foraged, but could blow up. We have a problem.
Death.
like that does
Carnage.
eventually just become what Forage. He's like, no issue here with you with you robbing these people. The issue is the thing you robbed is dangerous.
Bad
Well,
choice.
and then you have obviously adding anything to it makes you super uncomfortable based on this season. Electrical sparks terrified me from last season because of Cyborg's origins. So like I had forgotten how uncomfortable I was on the first watch through until now. And obviously I know what happens, but I remember that first watch through being like, I don't really know how bad this is going to be. But based on things I've seen before, it could be very bad. Very, very bad. Either I'm going to see inside of someone or they're just not going to be around anymore. These are the clues that I am receiving at this time. So I also couldn't really find anything on the Ruction cell itself. Radion is more of like a Kirby fourth world like substance, and like the new gods are actually vulnerable to it. So it may be like the kind of, oh, that's antiquated because it hurts us, or that sort of thing.
It's their kryptonite? Is that what you're trying to say?
Ball of radioactive matter made by the Nuclear Laboratories Incorporated, designed to be used in the atomic motors of future spacecraft. It's not known if two radions were the same material. Yeah, so it's basically like an old school power cell. And so then they're not using it for the last 5,000 years.
Just put that in a box.
Interesting.
And I also love, this is probably going to be a tough conversation when they're like, oh, yeah, we put that away 5,000 years ago. And Jake Eric's like, oh, I've been on the Javelin for 2 days and I'm itchy. Like, I gotta, I'm like, I feel like our conversations will be difficult to bridge the gap. Which makes me think of like all the times in RPGs of like trying to play up longer lived races and the difficulty of that, of like making them feel both different and the same enough to like connect with them, but at the same time, what do they care about anything you're going to bring up when they're like, oh, that thing we threw away 5,000 years ago? First off, you remember it.
Yeah.
Wow.
I keep thinking of like it's the scenes in like the Lord of the Rings where Merry and Pippin are on Treebeard and they're like, "Can you please hurry up?" And Treebeard's like, "We just said hi. It took all day." Like we're not moving at the same rush as you are.
Also, I realize writing the note of why are we giving anything to Metron to trust, but at the same time I'm like, well, what are you going to do?
They've been doing that for thousands of years.
Also, I mess with him, see what happens. Like it's not good.
No, it's not good.
So as mentioned, I think it's the first time that we reveal so much with the voice acting. Like, oh hey, just in case you didn't know, not one Zod, but two
Zods.
Yeah, so that was wild, and then also figuring out that it's the Phantom Zone and all the things that could mean. But yeah, I think those are good. I have one more, but I'll save it till the end of the Aster because I got a lot of thoughts about that scene at the very end.
Oh,
okay.
It's good. I want it. Yep. I had some thoughts about that as well.
Okay. So
all right.
I'll save it.
So speaking of the Phantom Zone, I do just want to say we were talking about the whole Superboy thing, and I forgot to mention that one of my notes is that especially rewatching these scenes and seeing the way week to week how Superboy's sense of self breaks down, it's heartbreaking. But one of the many things that I love in this episode's cuts to Connor is the moment where like Lex Luthor is trying to be like, well, you got to let her go if you want to reach your full potential, and how that's the one moment where like Connor sounds like Connor again when he's just like, I just don't know. Like it's the one time that like all of the assurances of like, oh, I know what I am and I'm this and I'm Superboy and here's all of my programming and falling back on that wavers for a second, and he sounds like Connor again, and it's about McGann, and it makes my heart happy as it breaks into 1,000 pieces. I am a simple girl. I love when the aliens are in love with each other. But what else do I have? All of my notes are far less comic book relevant than Neil's. Well, one, I just gotta say, this is my joke that I love about this. They have the whole bit about how Forager's like, yes, a strong female forager. Great, she's so cool. And Jake Eric's like, how do you know she's a girl? And he's like, is the bug's gender not obvious? And I'm like, oh yeah, of course it is. She has more pronounced winged eyeliner than you. Like, that's the only, that is, as far as I can tell, the only difference, and it's barely there. I just think it's funny to point out.
Isn't that what he says about Bioship, right? That's the joke. That's the running joke. Isn't Bioship's gender obvious? Yes.
He's paying attention. He knows
he's
what
there.
He's doing.
He's present.
He's
He's with people. That's what he's doing.
He's just keeping up with everything. It's great. So, circling back to the beginning of the episode. So this is going to sound like such a weird observation to make about a superhero cartoon, but just go with me on it for a second.
We're here. We're here for it.
So I really like that all of our main cast members this season are of a comparative age, but are at completely different points in their lives. Like, at this point, if I'm going to, like, let me compare all of the girls from season 1 are at this point all in their mid-20s. I think, like, it works out to being like they're all between the ages of 24 and 27, like at most, because it's been 10 years. And with that, Rocket is a divorced single mom on the Justice League. Artemis has a successful career as she's trying to become a professor and has a pretty casual relationship while also living in like an extended family home setup. McGann is living with her fiance and planning for a future and has a steady job, but not like going on like a career woman path. And as far as we know, Zatanna's just living her best single gal life over in the middle of Manhattan. And it's just nice that like all of those are kind of subtly just presented as like all valid paths. This is just where everybody is. And I like that because that's just true. And it's cool to see in genre fiction as just here's everybody. They're all different. It's just cool. I like it.
The other thing I was thinking was like, I was trying to think through like the same process with like the original, the original guys in the team. And it was a little more depressing, obviously, to go that way because Wally isn't there. Connor is currently in the Phantom Zone having quite the time. Gar, quite the time. This isn't as fun.
It's like, it's almost like there's a reason that I just focused on all the women for this.
Aqualad, having a time. I don't want to do this anymore. I'd like to go now.
All of the women have chosen different life paths, and all of the men have had the same mental health crisis.
Yeah, pretty much.
Being in your 20s.
Have fun, everyone.
Whee! Emily needs a moment.
I'm fine. Sorry. But yeah. No, I just like that. I think it's interesting, and I think it's true.
Yeah, what else you got, Emily? Anything else?
Rewatching this one, I'm just noticing more and more with this arc how much Rocket just does stuff like without consulting other people, and how that's just not great to watch. Like, I get that Rocket is under stress, and I absolutely sympathize with her in like the opening for this episode about like dealing with doing her absolute best to be a good parent and help her kid, especially in a situation where she clearly does not have all of the information that she needs to help her kid. But like, Orion is not on your team. You do not know what to expect from this man. He does not know what to expect from you. And you just like threw him into a tiny enclosed force bubble and dragged him underwater with no prior warning, especially in a non-emergency situation. That's just not okay. Like, you just went, this'll be fine. And then when it wasn't, you got annoyed that he clearly had almost a panic attack to the situation. And then we're like,
yeah,
well, I'm glad you feel fine because the thief got away. And I'm like, Rocket, that man had a panic attack because you didn't consult him on your plan. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah. And he controls himself in that opening scene. He's just like, let me out. Like, he's just like, look, I get it. He's really trying to keep he knows that he's got a temper.
Yeah.
Right. And he's saying that later, like, you know, I lost control again. Another gift from my dad, basically, because his father, in case you did not know, dear listener, his father is Darkseid, and Darkseid and Highfather, as part of a deal, exchanged sons. So one of Highfather's sons is Scott Free, who I don't think we see at all that I'm aware of. I can't remember. I don't think so.
Are you implying that man's first name is Scott and his last name is Free?
I am implying not only is that the case, that
Did he get away?
That he
needs to get away all the time.
He
gets away scot-free. I don't know how to feel right now.
Neil, he is the galaxy's greatest escape artist, and the only person who has ever escaped from the prisons of Apocalypse. Yes, his name is Scott-Free.
Sure.
And he's the one who marries Big Barda, right?
Yep. Yep. And have a
Great.
fantastic miniseries where they try to live a 90s sitcom life.
Good for them. Love when superheroes try to live a sitcom life.
And we've seen Big Barda a couple times now. And she
Yeah.
was one of the Furies. And then she keeps saying, as a matter of fact, we mentioned it with the bus, right? Because the bus shows up on Apocalypse. He's looking for a
1
hero,
year
quote
in
unquote.
the future.
And the only person who's there is Barda. So it's like a nod ahead to her skipping town. So anyway, so my point is that he knows that he's got stuff and he's trying to keep himself under management.
Yeah.
Right? And he's doing a good job. But, he gets hit like hard. He's already been trying to deal with things diplomatically and it's not working. And it's like, we're still talking and these kids have this bomb. It's going to go off. They're going to die. We're going to die. It's not good. This is awful. I've now been punched in the face by this thing. I'm over. I'm over it. I'm done.
Yeah.
And he just loses it. And he dives in. He hits the kids, knocks them away from the potentially exploding bomb, but also potentially hurts them. Right. And so it's like he loses control, but he's also still trying to solve the problem. You know what I mean? In some way. Yeah, it's wild.
And especially on rewatches for this, and thinking about how, to me as a viewer, it seems very clear that Orion in this episode is being set up as a more allegorical contrast to Amistad's behavior that we see early on. And the thing I kept thinking about rewatching this episode is how Orion is an adult that has been given tools for how to deal with his stuff in a way that Amistad has not yet had the chance to have. So much of the scenes with Orion are him self-regulating and doing his best to self-regulate in situations that are clearly extremely stressful for him, and the way that he interacts with the world, and the way that all of the people who know Orion are not put off by his behavior and know what to expect from Orion and are doing their best to help communicate with him. The way that he immediately is like, Rocket's got weird technology. We're supposed to study that. We should just take that. And his mom is like, no, because this extra fact. And he's like, okay, fine. Accepted. I will move on.
That's not protocol.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So he has that kind of organizational thing. Hey, I was told if A, then B.
Yeah.
And you know what? That works. And I get it. And you told me that. Well, A happened. Now it's time for B. Okay. Yes. But there's subtlety to the A and B it's not always black and white. These are some things, but he clearly trusts his adopted mother.
Yes.
And is like, okay, I get that now. The thing I have a lot to say about the Rocket and Amistad storyline from
absolutely
as a teacher and a parent and a person who works with a lot of parents and a lot of kids who have autism as well. I think you nail a lot of this. Yes, they're using him as some kind of parallel for Rocket to learn something, but it is a little unfortunate. But I kind of think I get where they were trying to go with this.
Yeah. We touched on that a little bit in Scream Something too, that I'm like,
oh, yeah.
there are it's the way that I kind of look at it is it is not a one-to-one thing. It is an allegory and it is a parallel, and it should not be viewed as this is what Orion is, because that has some unfortunate implications that even in Scream Something, as I was like, eh.
Orion's situation is different, but what I think you make a really good point about this idea that Rocket has not accepted what is going on with her son.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that it's a common story, but it's certainly not an uncommon story that one of the parents is like, I don't want to accept this for any number of reasons about their growth, the parents' childhood, the parents' needs the parents filter for themselves. Like if I have a kid with special needs, maybe there's some reason they don't want to accept those things. That happens. It happens a lot less now than it does in the past because of increased awareness, but it is not uncommon. And in this case, you can see the difference. Like she has Amistad and he's got his cars and their wheels up, right? So she is kind of reluctantly adapting herself to his behavior, where what happens with his dad? He's like, I got your car set out, buddy. Wheels up. You got it. You betcha. Right? He's just with his son. Like, this is just what's going on, and it's okay. But Rocket is fighting this for some reason. And since we don't get a lot about Rocket's history, Rocket's childhood, Rocket's parentage, like who parented her and her own childhood traumas that might be feeding into this level of acceptance and being a parent, it's possible that she might have had all kind in the comics. There was some real issues around the pregnancy originally. Like there was some, not issues. It was complicated. So, I mean, there may be a thing of her about like, did I have a kid too young? Like, am I not really good enough to be this parent? Was this as a result of something that I did during pregnancy that made him come out this way? These are questions that, whether valid or not, like whether that's a possibility or not, like your brain will sometimes go through these questions. And so she got a lot of flack from articles that I read about like how not great a parent she was, right? In the same way Superman, I think back in the day, in a similar way, how he got some pretty bad dad flack, which I get even from us. But like having worked with parents in different stages of acceptance of the situation, she's like, look, they just don't understand him. The school doesn't understand him. He doesn't need an IEP. An IEP is for kids who can't do stuff, or like the kids that are, quote unquote dumb or not smart or whatever story she has in her head about it. Like, and my son can do these things and my son is smart. And he's like, but we're having two different conversations here.
Yeah.
Right. Like that's where I look at that and I go, she is not having a conversation about her son. It's not about her son. The conversation she's having is to do with a conversation she had with her own parents when she was a kid, or when she was pregnant, or something else she grew up with. She is arguing something that is not what's right in front of her, and that comes from trauma, right? And her husband's like, it has nothing to do with it. Of course, what? So you're implying that I think that he's not smart? It's not about smart. It's about he just needs some help, and we need to make a plan so we can get everybody on the same team. That's all there is to it, right? Let's get everybody on the same team so we can make sure that he gets to fulfill himself as the best Amistad he can be in the world, just like we all want to be the best us we want to be in the world. It's the same, right? And so having the parallel, because she's avoiding this parenting responsibility and she's going into space and she's doing Justice League stuff. I mean, we've already seen, this is super stressful, and they've pictured it in the show many times about trying to balance the home life with stuff. See Garfield, right? Like it can be rough. And I get that, but she's kind of in an avoidance behavior, and she could have talked to Forager. Forager has quirky behaviors and things that he does that are different, and he's adapting and learning, and people are adapting to him and teaching, and he's teaching them. And it's a beautiful thing. And there could have been maybe a parallel more to someone like Forager or other characters that could have helped her understand it, but I don't think Rocket was in that place. I think Rocket needed something in her face to pull her out of whatever mindset she was thinking, so she could just even start to understand or start to see, look, I see this thing as negative. Whatever this thing is negative that Orion's doing. And I'm also seeing people love him, like really love him.
Yeah.
Like Light Ray is stepping up for Orion and getting it done, right? His parents are loving and being with him in the way that we see Amistad's dad doing the same thing. Rocket needs to see something more direct to really start to pull her out of the mindset, is kind of how I look at it now. Now, when we look over more episodes, I'll get a chance, because I haven't rewatched these in a while, and I've only watched up to this point. So when we watch some more episodes, I might start shifting my point of view on the whole arc. But to right now, when I'm looking at this is kinds of the ideas that I'm playing around with.
One of the big things, and I hate to oversimplify it, but I want to help the conversation. It's literally the issue of literally and figuratively placing people in bubbles. Like, that's That's part of the problem. I mean, it's part of the problem.
Yeah.
It becomes a very tangible problem with like you said, though, I had not really thought of it until you talked about it, Emily, of like, you just put a dude you just met in a bubble and put him under the water.
I'm like,
no. Also, if he was cool with it, he would have just gone into the water, like, without question. If he had the technology and desire to follow that forager into the water, he would have just done it. He creates the floating Segway out of his belt. I'm dead set that if he wanted to be in the water and be fine, he would have been in the water and you would have followed his lead, because he's the how many 1,000-year-old god that lives on this planet in a place called Supertown. So I think, based on the context clues that that you're presented, that like he would have had to do that. Also, like, I can speak from my own experience, and that's obviously one of the safest places to speak from, that trying to finalize a label like an IEP or a 504 or a 508, because this is what
right.
I did. I worked in a disability department for a while. Like, the finality of that is scary.
It is.
In the sense that, because that's, you as a parent feel like, if that's what happens, that you're afraid your child is no longer going to be seen as your child. Your child is going to be seen as having an IEP, a 504, a 508.
They're going to be defined as their disability, right? They're going to be defined as this thing and labeled instead of, and so this is one of the reasons why my wife left teaching and we moved where we'd moved, and how and why we're doing what we're doing now. Because yes, there are kids who have challenges and disabilities. The problem is sometimes the system does put them in these pockets, and then they're not getting, the individual isn't getting help to the level that they can achieve. They're just being, okay, well, they have this, so therefore, since they've had it for the last 5 years, then we're going to keep doing it for the next 5 years. And yes, they try to revisit. Yes, they try to redefine in advance, but it becomes very difficult. You're kind of fighting a systemic thing instead of seeing that kid for being that kid. And yeah, okay. All right, so they had an IEP. Okay, that's cool. They had an IEP. Like, that's fine. But there is something about that, like Neil's talking about, that becomes like this final thing. And also it negates the idea that we can change, we can grow, we can shift. We see it with kids without IEPs, with the kids that we're teaching. We have kids who have their older siblings or their parents or cousins, neighbors, friends, whatever, start defining them as a particular thing when they're younger. Like, oh, 6-year-old so-and-so, yeah, they're the troublemaker of the family. And that's the running joke in the family. They're the troublemaker. What they don't get is that 5-6-year-old starts to define themselves as that's what that is, and they can't be anything else. We've had kids who have been told that they can't read, that they have dyslexia when they're 4 or 5 years old. They might have a little bit of a reading difficulty, but the kid is telling me I can't read because I have this. So their story about themselves is, I can't do this. I am told I can't at 4 or 5, and therefore I cannot. And so we're often trying to re-story the kid into a new place. And as a parent, you know what I'm saying, Neil? Neil knows what I'm saying.
Well, I've done it I've done it for adults. Like, see, that's like, I'm at from the same perspective, almost 10 years down those roads. It's like, because I was working at a community college, and I say kids, but like the adults, some of these adults were walking in with that same story.
Yes.
That same story 10 years down the road,
yes.
Only to find out that it's there's a lot of potential reasons why learning is difficult for people in different ways. So was it ADHD? Was it even not realizing that it's dyslexia until they're 18?
Yeah.
And then only to find out this entire story you've been told had a different tale behind it.
Yep.
Just of like, no, change this one thing. And like, it's weird because it was both some of the saddest conversations that I would have, but also some of the most rewarding results of those conversations, to say, it's this, and I have these tools or these resources for you, and then watch someone become very successful with those tools and resources, and they get to start telling a very different story
about
now.
themselves.
It's so tough when you have, like I said, you have a person from 18 plus in the community college. You're talking about people that may be going in for second careers, so they could be in their 50s to 60s.
Yeah.
things like that. And they also are having to retell their story, which is, it was some of it, like I said, some of the saddest and most rewarding at the same time.
It's tough and rewarding. Yeah. Like you're saying, like helping a kid, like re-story about what they can do, and then watching that confidence grow and watching them do a thing they never thought they could do is brilliant. Now, that doesn't mean that this kid may not have some kind of challenge, but the way we look at it is like, this kid does have a challenge, but I think what they can do is really far beyond what they believe they can do. That's two different conversations, right? Like, we're not saying that they don't have a challenge in some way, or that maybe they have a challenge with the thing. Where is that line, though? I don't think that line is where you think it is. I don't think that word means what you think it means, right?
Yeah.
And the same thing with Amistad in this episode. Rocket needs to change her story about her son. And the story that's in her doesn't necessarily have to do with her son. It has to do with a bunch of other stuff in her life that we don't necessarily get to see, which is unfortunate, because I would like to see a lot of where that came from, because that how we parent and heal yourself, heal your kids. That's what my wife says all the time. You help to heal yourself of your traumas and chain break the ancestral trauma. You can really make a difference with your kids so they don't carry it on to their kids. I'm on a soapbox. I had a lot to say about this. I'll probably have more to say in more future episodes. And like I said, might shift a few of my views as we watch more of it develop in the writing. That's where I'm at right now.
Well, and my thing would also be to say, like, as a viewer, I know I turn a lot of my brain off, because like I have learned that if I can do it, I can just enjoy stuff more. Like, just laugh my way through something that may make me uncomfortable. But what I would say is, as uncomfortable as some of these things are with Rocket, or looking back at the way that Superman was approaching Connor, like, it may make you uncomfortable because of the reality of it.
Yes.
Like, you're getting shown real people. And like, yeah, you know what's not fun? A sitcom where I know we bring it up, where it's like most of the solutions to the problems is like, well, if they just talk to each other. I'm like, okay, I hear you, but I know in my own life and observing the lives of others, that's a really common thing we don't do. Like, a lot of our problems in our real lives could be solved by better communicating with the people that we're interacting with. So like, to see it in a show, it's very real. So like, these imperfect versions of these stories, it's why they work so well, because this is real. People have, like, and also in those interactions, like you're saying, is I wish we knew more about her story, but like, that's the same truth as when you interact with someone. I've always held on to this. I read it. It feels like some random BuzzFeed article. I know it wasn't, but it feels like that. It was like 37 emotions you didn't know had names. And one of the ones that always kind of sits with me now is called Onder, where it is this deep realization that every random NPC in your life that you see walking down the road has a story and a life just as elaborate and detailed as your own.
Yeah.
And like, that's a tough emotion to like really, really sit with. Like, the idea that like that random person that may have frustrated me, or, positive, negative, whatever the interaction that I have now interacted with or not interacted with, I just saw them walk by. The idea that if I were to sit there and know them, I would realize that their life and their story is just as complex as my own. And like, that's a lot. It's a lot. Don't do that all the time, by the way. Please don't do that. Give it a little try, but don't do it. Don't do it too often. It's a lot. It's a lot to take in.
So this thing you're talking about like the solution would be solved if we talk to each other. My wife and I are big on clear communicating as much as possible. Clear communication, we say like this word clear communication like it's easy. The problem is that both, like, the people involved in the communication both have to be reliable narrators. And I know that when my wife and I were having challenges in our relationship, I was not always a reliable narrator about even what was going on inside my own head. Do you know what I mean? Like, oh, I feel like I'm feeling this way because of A. Turns out after a lot of therapy and self-reflection and work and spiritual stuff, like, I'm like, oh, you know what? It wasn't A at all. It was some other thing, and it was all coming out sideways. And now we can be clearer narrators with each other, and now communication is good, and we're kind of have the same language and on the same page. But you have Superman, like we were just talking about, in his case, He literally just found out he quote unquote had a son. Also that he was pretty much kind of violated and like DNA stolen and something was manipulated. Like, give the guy a hot second. Like, he's got a lot going on. And with Rocket too, there's something going on there. You know, there's something extra layers going on there. So giving her credit for being a layered, complex, complicated human being with a past who has filters that they're looking through the world through. And sometimes those filters and tools that we use to survive early in our life don't apply to every situation. It's funny, a screwdriver is not always the tool to solve your construction problem, right? The tool you've developed to survive does not always apply to every situation later on.
I feel like a lot of the stuff wrapped up in what Rocket's going through is the fact that there is still such a belief among so many people that anyone who needs adaptations to live their life is somehow living a lesser life.
Yeah.
Like, from my own experiences, as someone with food allergies going through school, you don't realize how much food is involved in a quote unquote normal childhood education until you are a person who cannot interact with so much of it. And you suddenly have teachers who are like, oh, Emily can't do this craft. Oh, we can't do this lesson with Emily. All this stuff. Mm-hmm. And me and my family, who was wonderful at supporting me and finding solutions, were like, well, why don't we just do this instead? And we're fine with that. And I was fine with that, and I never felt less than. But the number of people that I would interact with on a daily basis who would be like, oh, I don't know what I would do if I couldn't eat XYZ. And it's like, you just eat different food. You do what I do every day of my life for the past.
Yeah.
The scale at which that happens is so wild.
Agreed.
I'm intolerant to chocolate, and the number of times I've heard that, I'm like, you can look at me. I figured it out.
And I get it. Yes, milk, eggs, and tree nuts are a lot. And they do impact my life on a daily basis. There is a lot of stuff I can't eat. There are a lot of experiences I can't have. I don't go to restaurants. It's a nightmare.
Even when you flew out to join us when we were doing the stuff for California, we had to have a long conversation about like, okay, let's make sure that we, that the traveling, how are you going to eat? Because you hadn't done a lot of traveling before then too. So like, let's make sure that we got you taken care of, and wanting to make sure your mom knew that you were safe too, and on the food front. And we did it.
Yeah. One, the longer that you live with something, the more you become able to adapt to it and communicate what you need, which is, again, also all wrapped up in everything we've been talking with this. But it's also the thing of, it's just realizing that some people are so far out of your lived experience that like you have no scope for, no idea, no mental scope for how they live their life is wild to me. Like, I was just thinking about this earlier today about the idea that most average people, quote unquote, who do not live life the way I do, never read the ingredients on the food that they buy and eat. And yep. I'm like, every now and then I remember that, and I'm just like, oh, that's a completely different life than mine. And how other people who don't do that are like, I can't imagine what it would be like to have to read the ingredients on something. And I'm like, it takes me 10 seconds and it makes sure I don't die. It's not that big a deal. But for people who don't do it, they think that must be it is a more complicated life, but for a lot of people, they view that as being a lesser life. And I think that ties in to all of this stuff, that anyone who is outside of a very narrow definition of neurotypical and able-bodied, like, has a different life, and that life is not worse. It is just different, and we adapt to it.
And bringing it back to Amistad for a second, I wonder, when she's dropping him off at his dad's, it seems, I mean, I'm jumping to a little bit of a conclusion, but I don't think it's a big jump. His dad has clearly got his house and his life and his expectations set up for Amistad, right? So like when he's heading out the door, he's like, yep, that hat goes right next to the door, right? We're not having the conversation about the hat because the hat's next to the door.
I had not noticed that, but that is a very good
catch. I'm saying, like, I don't know if it's next to the door, but what I'm saying is that he's making adaptations to say, like, look, because Rocket is not accepting what's going on, because Rocket is not fully like on board with what's happening, she's trying to be a helping helper who helps. I almost guarantee you that his dad never, quote unquote, flips the car back over into its right position. Right? Because she, right position, quote unquote, wheels down. She's doing it because she's like, oh, let me fix this. Let me make it right for you. She's trying to help. There's a part inside her who wants to help, but the helping is not helping because that is not seeing the person that's in front of her. And I bet you her ex-husband lives with less of the stress she's dealing with on a daily basis simply because he's setting himself and Amistad up for generally success. Does that mean Amistad's not going to have moments and he's not going to have some outbursts and things like that? No, of course he's going to, as they're trying to figure out what things are together, right? And Amistad is learning more tools as he gets older. But how old is he? He's got to be, what, 5, 6 at this point?
Amistad was born before the start of Invasion. He's born before the start of Invasion.
Okay.
Because in the comics that are right before the start of Invasion, they mention, you have to show us pictures of Amistad.
That's right.
So I have always guessed that Amistad is somewhere between the ages of like 5 and 7 at most.
That's what I'm thinking too. So I'm thinking 5 or 6 is kind of the age he seems to be at. That you got a little ways to go. 5. Producer Neil is pointing to his hand at 5. So
he was born in 2015.
So he's got some years to be able to learn some tools and to do some things and to help them out, right? And until then, you got to figure out what the triggers are, right? But she's clearly not doing any of that, or she's doing less of that, or because she isn't accepted the situation, which is making her life even harder. Right? Because it's triggering him in times when you don't even need to do that if you just think ahead a step or two. Also, her bandwidth is pretty much full with, I'm going to fly across the galaxy and do all this stuff as well.
Yeah. It's the thing of like, Amistad needs tools and Rocket also needs tools. Because it's the thing of like, Rocket is trying, clearly, but has, as we've said, hasn't accepted everything. And because she hasn't accepted everything, she does not have her full toolbox of ways to actually help. And so she is putting even more stress on herself by not having everything that she could have. And it's wild.
I have the perfect segue. Other 90s sitcom that we need to have is starring Connor, and it's called My Two Dads. And it's Lex and Clark helping raise him.
Oh, gosh. Yeah.
There you go. That's, yeah.
It's not the sitcom Miss Martian accepted, but it's the one that she needs.
So I also see My Two Dads combining with The Odd Couple. Right, because
that's also what I was thinking as well.
Because Lex has definitely got a little organizational OCD, and though I don't see Clark as being a mess, he was definitely raised on a farm in different ways than Lex seems to like want to be that city guy versus the farm boy. There's definitely an Odd Couple vibe you could.
Oh, I think the scene where he's just sitting there with his boots off under the tree, just hanging out. Lex would not have bought.
Or boots on the table. I don't know. Something.
Okay, so I mean, I know we're running a little long, but we gotta talk about the end credits.
Yes,
let's do it. Yeah, let's do this. Oh my gosh.
Okay, so the online conversation around this was very interesting.
So
people thought it was like.
So first we got to describe describe to the listeners what we're looking at.
So we're looking at the end credit scene where it is the grid of 24 individuals that they are looking to discuss adding to the reserves. One of the interesting things about the online discussion was people thought it was adding to the actual Justice League.
Right.
And I was like, whoa, no. That's definitively not what they said.
No. Yeah.
What's also interesting, though, is that it does then, because of that distinction, imply none of these people are on the league.
Yes.
And would that also then mean they're not on really any teams either?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. So it makes the conversation a little more interesting to think about some of these people not being directly associated with the Justice League via any team, be it the team, the Outsiders, the League, Batman Incorporated, or anything in between. So yes, we'll talk about the ones we see.
There's 2 we do not see.
Those could be anyone.
I think I know who one of them is, though, by process of elimination.
Okay, so we'll start at the top. But Zatara, just now that, I mean, I guess technically Dr. Fate was on the team, but
So-
he
Dr.
Zatara
Fate
wasn't.
is still on the league. They are differentiating between Dr. Fate and Zatara when he is not Dr. Fate.
Yeah.
That
because-
whoever is
Yeah.
not Dr. Fate should still be on our radar whenever necessary.
Right. Right. And also, can we get that guy a break? I mean, just to say, can he have a vacation? Just
Let
a minute.
Zatara rest.
You get 1 hour a year, buddy. That's all you get.
And then from there we have Will Harper,
Right.
which that makes sense. Also interesting. I mean, I guess also makes sense that he's not on any
Yeah.
team.
Right.
Will's
as
just
it
retired.
stands.
Right.
Then you have Garth and Troya, who are both
Right.
on the UN again, so I understand. But it's also like, are you also recruiting these people to like get the connections that they have? Because like, are you
Well,
doing the
but Troya was on the team.
Yeah, I was about to say Troya is former team. So Troya joined the team and left the team in between seasons 1 and 2. That is canon.
She was the first Wonder Girl. Yeah. But what's
Yeah.
interesting
But
to
then-
me, the next person is Mary.
I don't think anybody knows where Mary is. Like,
Yeah.
not even just doesn't know where Mary is, but I think most people are still assuming that Mary is contactable. Like,
Yes.
like
So-
it's not just Mary's missing and we don't know where. It's we just assume Mary just has been ghosting us. Like,
Yeah, or Mary's off doing her own thing. And also it's Black Lightning and Superman. So like they're kind of out of the loop maybe on some of it. We're just like, hey, somebody should probably mention, I don't know. But then right next to Mary is Clayface, which I adore because based on the audio or what do we even call that thing? The special they did?
the prize? Yeah,
Yeah, the 3.9,
3.9.
right? Season 3.9. We know that somehow Clayface has been like he's on the good guys team now, and he's like a member of
Bowhunter.
Bowhunter
yeah.
Security, yeah, which is pretty cool.
You have basically all of Bowhunter security because you also have Jim Guardian, who is Jim.
Is also on this list, yeah, the first Guardian,
Yeah, and then you also have Bumblebee and then Mal as Guardian.
right?
Are options, which is also like, I guess, yeah, they're not on the team anymore.
Nope. And then Double X,
Again, but you're trying to tap into different resources. This is what I'm saying. The first one is Garth to get Atlantis, Troya to get Themyscira, Double X to get
Geranium
City.
And they do say that when they're listing like places that have armies that are willing to help. Like they're like,
Yeah.
there might be something in Geranium City. We don't know.
What does he say? Resources we've yet to tap. So super beings.
untapped resources. Well, then then literally the next one is Adam Strange and Alana, so that you could tap into the resources of Rand. Obviously,
And then Isis.
Yep.
That's got to be Green Beetle, right? Isn't
Yeah,
that
it is.
Mars?
So then tap into Mars even more.
Mm-hmm. And then we got the Runaways, right? Because that's Asami.
The two that didn't, and Ty. Those are the two that didn't join when the Tau stuff was happening.
Right. And then the next one over is the one that's getting me. Do you know who that is?
Mira.
Oh, it's Mira. Oh, I thought that it's her red hair. I thought it was like a hood. Oh, right. And then, that makes sense because right next to her is Dolphin, right?
Delphis,
they call her. Yeah. And Wind. But then the next one we see is actually Khalid. So if Khalid, oh, wait a minute. Okay. So if Khalid and Mary are there, I was going to say then one of these, there's two squares that are blocked by Superman and Black Lightning's heads. I was thinking the other one must have been Tracy 13, but Tracy
She's on
13's
the
an
Outsiders.
Outsiders.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And then, and then there's Jason Blood / Etrigan.
No. Don't make that slash because they talk about adding Etrigan and have Jason Blood here because one of the things is Superman's like, we don't have a clear picture of these, but they're separating the two. They're making a distinction between Jason Blood and discussing Etrigan.
And so there,
See, this is what I'm saying.
So-
This is why I love these, by the way. The fact that we're talking this much about what is basically 1 minute of the show is
yeah,
so good.
and so Jason Blood is a separate individual who, thanks to his connection to Etrigan, is hundreds of years old, right? And so that's a shtick. But also it's a thing like, does he become Etrigan, or Etrigan actually lives in DC's version of hell and they swap places and it allows him to leave hell? If that's the case, they are technically separate individuals that they could go get Etrigan and also have Jason Blood. But it depends on how you look at the way that the curse is interpreted. A little bit like the Captain Marvel Shazam thing. Like, is it an older version of Billy, or is it literally another being that he's borrowing a body from? There's a lot of philosophical conversations about what Mary and Billy actually do. And then the last one is Madame Xanadu.
The best glow up in the whole show, man.
Yeah. And so there's 2 on this list that we don't know who they are, but I don't think they mention them.
Yeah, the others that are mentioned that aren't shown is Peacemaker is mentioned as one of the ones they don't have a good picture of. Dear listener, go read your tie-in comics, because in issue number 20, titled Players Chapter 1, Wheelbarrow, Shoe, and Thimble, basically it's referencing Peacemaker as one of the first superheroes that Jaime Reyes has interacted with, that are basically giving him like the voucher of like, no, he's okay. The other is Guy Gardner. And someone's response is, whoa, Guy hates everyone. So if he's okay with Jaime, then Jaime can't be that bad.
Oh, that's funny. And then also Phantom Stranger.
That was the other one that was suggested. I'm like, well, sure. You mean the guy who can call together the Lords of Order and Chaos? You'd like him on your team.
It's like in the Marvel universe. I'm like, hey, anybody got the Watcher on speed dial? Like, I mean, how do you get Phantom Stranger to connect to him?
Superman's aiming high.
I'm also surprised they didn't. I would have been fun. I would have liked John Constantine or someone else mentioned as well.
I'd argue I would headcanon here based on the fact I was gonna say this, and now you've given me a segue. Based on the fact that the bottom row, the last couple, are all magic users, there's an argument to be made that one of those might be John Constantine. If we're grouping together people who have similar vibes, like, which seems to be a little bit the way this grid is laid out.
My headcanon now, with the bottom line being all mystical focused, is that it's John Constantine and Swamp Thing. That'd be cool.
Yeah, Swamp Thing is next to Wind. John Constantine is the other one.
Done. Deal.
Yeah, I was thinking of another Atlantean person. Like, funny options are Topo or King Shark. Another one based on like Mira clearly doesn't have a different crown. They're like, I heard Arian's back. We'll add him to the list, because clearly we haven't done any follow up or background checks.
Right.
Because Mary's still there.
We just keep leaving the people in charge of the Justice League out of the loop. Amazing.
No one needs to know. I still want to see the conversation. Talk about out of the loop. When did Superman realize that Lex Luthor was Superboy's other dad? I want to see that conversation. Anyway,
Clark.
Yeah, so Clark, awkward conversation. We have a son together. Anyway, all right. Okay, that was fascinating. Thank you for doing that, for bringing up that panel, because I also paused it, but it was really hard I was watching on my phone, and it was really hard for me to see detail.
It was more work than I was expecting, given like when this came out. I was kind of just thinking, oh, I'll be able to find it somewhere.
Yeah.
And I found like a couple Reddit threads that like did a majority of the work for me, but was surprisingly not all of the work. So
yeah,
but it was worth
awesome.
It.
All right, cool. Well, we're going way over this week. So let's move on to our next thing.
Welcome to the Fake Your Own Death Club. Its membership is very exclusive, and I'm the president.
Hello, team, and welcome to the Midroll. Producer Neil here, and as always, just want to take some extra time and thank you for tuning in and listening to us talk endlessly about Young Justice. I do want to take a moment to say that rather than have a specific Canary debrief, it just got folded into the general discussion in the Aster. So imagine that the clip played of Black Canary before now. So the Canary debrief is just folded in to the general discussion. You've heard it. Also, I will be at a Catacon this year once again, and that'll be in Dayton, Ohio on November 7th through the 9th. I'll be running some games, doing some panels, things like that. So if you are there and see me or want to see me, you can check out the event schedule, and I will be there all 3 days. And with that out of the way, let's get back to the show.
I've admired your stance on animal rights for years.
In fan service, we want to take some time to highlight the amazing fan-related creations celebrating DC, Young Justice, and other creative works we think Young Justice fans will love. Since we went ahead and referenced the idea of several sitcoms, and I was scouring the internet, high, low, and everywhere else to see what I could find for fan service this time around, I was on r/Young Justice, and lo and behold, about a month ago was posted if Young Justice were a sitcom. So shout out to the user, The Canton Rogue, and their group of cosplayers dressing up and making a fun little skit as if the Young Justice characters that they are dressed up as were in a sitcom. So you can find a link to that in the show notes. But with that, let's head to Crashing the Mode.
Tell us something we don't know yet.
Sorry, BB. We can't risk altering the time stream. We do that, we're all feeling the mode.
Our earlier segments assume listeners have only seen up to this episode in Season 4. In Crashing the Mode, we'll be discussing spoilers and foreshadowing for future episodes, as well as plot elements from the original DC storylines that may affect what we see later on. We may also drop theories and speculations about what's to come based on wild flights of fancy. Hey, Connor's in the Phantom Zone. Now we know. Hey, that guy in the bubble, his name's Lorzad. Hey, his dad's around too. Hey, Chekhov's interdimensional vault. That'll come up. Hey, don't worry. The Kaiser Thralls is the most terrifying thing we're going to talk about this whole season.
Oh my God.
Because that's a boy in there.
That is messed up. It is so messed up. It's real painful.
We'll get there. But now you know.
I had a joke earlier in my notes that I think perfectly applies to just the entire Crashing the Mode that you just listed, that this episode is really just aliens saying words with zero context while I hold on for dear life and try to keep up. Like, everybody just goes, and the Kaiser Thrall. And the first time through, I was like, the what? What is the horrible box? Like...
What's in the box? It's not good, guys.
It's not good.
That's
a kid, and he's having a horrible time. Because we're in Crashing the Mode, we can say things.
Yeah.
That's just a kid who didn't ask to be a box.
I love your reference to Chekhov's interdimensional vault, because that's going to come back. No, it's not at all a terrible idea that Metron has collected all of these horrifying things in one location.
That's my thing is like, well, I mean, as long as no one finds it ever for any reason, it'll be great. But when someone does, it'll be very bad.
Not good. Zero good at all. Yeah. I guess
for any of our listeners who might not know what the phrase Chekhov's interdimensional vault could mean, Chekhov's gun is a storytelling principle based on a famous line from Anton Chekhov, a playwright who said that if a gun hangs above the mantelpiece in Act 1, it must go off by the end of Act 3. And so if you're introducing that all of the most dangerous things in the universe go into this one place, then
no
maybe that'll be narratively relevant.
Yeah, your Chekhov example of the episode would be like, hey, the thing that we're saying is real old, is sparking a whole bunch. I wonder what'll happen in the third act.
Right.
Put it in the space box.
We talked about it a bit in the first season when we were talking about like the introducing things 3 times, like the rule of 3. It's like, oh, here's this helmet of fate, and somebody put it on, and it wasn't great. And oh, look, they did it again, and that was terrible. Oh, and look, now someone's going to put it on, and desperate consequences. And there will be an effect. It was definitely Chekhov's helmet of fate. Like, you're introducing this thing, it is going to go off before the end of the season. Something is going to happen. So, yes, that is definitely a thing. Yeah, and I guess I said it outside of Crashing the Mode earlier, but yeah, Orion's dad is Darkseid, and explained all that. But and I don't know if that's really Crashing the Mode necessarily. Does it come up as a big plot point later?
No,
I didn't think it did.
You also have way too many. You have a lot of visual cues. You see Darkseid, then you see Orion. Like, the distance between the two is very short in this episode.
Yeah, and then when he is freaking out, he's got the dark things around his eyes, and like he starts. It just looks like, yeah, I got you. Yeah, he just needs Omega beams coming out of his eyeballs, and you get it. So anyway, yeah, Omega beams. Anyway, anything else we got on Crash the Mode, Garth?
Nope, I think that's it.
Having a hard time
for this one because we're starting the arc out, so I think that's good.
Actually, I mean, the thing they're rocking around in, the thing Laura Zod's rocking around in, is the time bubble. But I guess we've been talking about that anyway.
Yep. So. And hey, Forager got a girlfriend. Forager's gonna get a Forager girlfriend.
Forager's girlfriend is going to become awesome. Like, she's already pretty cool.
Oh, yeah.
And she becomes super awesome. He's like, he gets himself a...
I had completely forgot about that.
She becomes a super girlfriend for sure.
But we'll get into that.
We love you, Forager.
Soon.
Both Foragers. We love you, Foragers.
Forager squared.
Yeah, I meant the both. I don't remember anyway.
There is a reason that I keep continually referring to her with various adjectives to make sure that we know which Forager we're talking about.
Oh, and you know what I just remembered as well? Jay joining the Justice League? Didn't he join the Justice League because his wife died? Isn't that a thing?
And he needed something to do.
I think she died, and that's one of the reasons why he joined back up, because he was talking about she's going to kill me for just putting on the tin hat in one of those previous episodes. But I think he's got a bizarrely long life because of some nonsense in the Justice Society we could talk about another time. But anyway, all right, I think that's it. We've gone way over. Thanks so much. And with all that, I think we can Zeta out of the Watchtower.
If you'd like to join us in discussing this incredible series, you can find us on Twitter at the YJ Files, on our website, crashingthemode.com, and you can even email us at whelmedpodcast@gmail.com. You can also find us on YouTube, Stitcher, Spotify, and iHeartRadio.
And if you'd like to support our show, please consider sharing it with a friend and joining our chats on social media. You can also support the show by giving us a 5-star review and or rating on Apple Podcasts or your podcatcher of choice. The ratings, comments, and subscriptions help others find the show. If you do leave us a rating, please let us know at our email address or on social media, especially if you're outside the US, as we have to look a little bit harder to find those.
If you are able to support us monetarily, please consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/crashingthemode. Even $1 a month can help us bring you even more awesome discussion sessions, interviews, reviews, and more.
And remember,
stay well, everyone. Great.
We're great at saying things at the same time.
You've been listening to Whelmed, the Young Justice Files podcast. Our hosts are Rich Howard and Emily Booza. Our editor and producer is Neil Powell. Our theme was composed by Emily Mio. Our logo was created by Kevin Bates. Whelmed is a fan-made podcast and is not officially affiliated with DC Comics, DC Entertainment, Warner Brothers Animation, and any other owners of Young Justice or its related source material. As such, these companies have sole ownership of all symbols, images, names, logos, and proprietary material related to Young Justice. Original content of this podcast is ours under Creative Commons. Thanks for listening, and stay whelmed.